In the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most gracious. Students, our last topic from chapter Homeostasis was left, that was thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is basically a process in which the internal body conditions like temperature is maintained. And this all is controlled by a center in the brain that is called hypothalamus, or the regulatory centers, thermoregulatory centers into the hypothalamus. Now, thermoregulation and its proper definition is that it is the maintenance of the internal temperature within a certain range, within a tolerable range, with respect to changing external environment. So, when the external environment or the temperature outside the body will be changing, organisms need to maintain its internal temperature, and that allows the cells to function efficiently. This process is called thermoregulation. The body works to balance the amount of heat loss to maintain a stable internal temperature, which involves a range of enzymes, and an optimum temperature is required for the enzymes to perform their optimal activity. Now, what happens during this process? If the temperature becomes colder or warmer than the enzyme's optimum range, it changes the shape of the active site and causing chemical reactions to stop. We will classify different animals on the basis of temperature and on the basis of heat production or the metabolic heat. Now, first of all, the temperature classification of animals. If we classify the animals on the basis of response of animals to variation in an environment's temperature, this will be called as the old classification. And animals are of two types on the above basis. First are the poikilotherms, which are also called as cold-blooded animals, and the other category is homeotherms, which are called the warm-blooded animals. Poikilotherms are those animals in which body temperature changes more or less with the changing air, means they cannot withstand the extreme weather changes, and they maintain the body of their temperature or the temperature of their bodies using the physiological mechanisms. You have seen the example of frogs which cannot live outside the soil during the winter seasons, so they cannot maintain their body temperature according to the external temperature. All invertebrates such as amphibians and reptiles are present in this group of poikilotherms. Now, the homeotherms are the organisms which are the warm-blooded animals and which can maintain their body temperature according to the change in the external environment, including us and birds. So, there were some difficulties that were faced during the old classification system. First was, if we talk about the deep fishes that lives in waters, they maintain their body temperature due to the constant natural surroundings. Some of the lizards can regulate their body temperature, And many birds and mammals, they vary their body temperature, including hummingbirds and bats, etc. Now, another classification that was based on the source of heat production were endotherms, ectotherms, and heterotherms. We will talk about them one by one. Endotherms are the organisms or animals, they generate their own body heat through heat production as byproduct during metabolism in muscles or by the action of hormones that increase metabolic rate. And these include some fishes, some flying insects, and mammals. Now, the ectotherms are the animals which produce metabolic heat at low level, and that is also exchanged quickly with the environment. So, they absorb heat from their surroundings. That is why they are called ectotherms. Ecto means outside and endo means from within, from inside. Heterotherms, the third type, are those animals which are capable of varying degrees of endothermic heat production, but generally they do not regulate their body temperature, and the examples are bats and hummingbirds. Now, the thermoregulatory strategies in man. How the thermostat of the body is maintained. There is a center that I have already told you, which is located in the brain or in the hypothalamus, that acts as a thermostat. So it detects any change in the temperature of the blood. It will send message to the brain, the thermoregulatory center, that the temperature is increased or decreased. Even slight change will be detected by the receptors in the skin, and the message will be sent to the thermoregulatory centers in the brain. Then at the same time, the hypothalamus will initiate the corrective mechanism or the feedback mechanism to correct any change in the body and get the body back to its normal state. For example, there are two conditions: the temperature of the body may increase or the temperature of the body may decrease according to the surrounding environments, which is detected by the receptors in the skin, and they stimulates the higher voluntary centers of the brain. Now, the voluntary centers are those which are under the control. For example, if the outside environment becomes very low, the person feels cold and the body will start the corrective mechanism, that is the shivering process. So the shivering of the body will start, which will get the body back to its normal state, and the temperature of the body will increase. This is often considered as a behavioral response which corrects the situation without the need for any physiological response. Now, hyperthermia is a condition or is a state when the body temperature becomes more than 37 degrees Celsius, that is the normal body temperature. There are two basic responses of the body. One is vasoconstriction and the other is vasodilation. Vasoconstriction occurs during the colder times or during the winter seasons or when the temperature outside the body is low, and vasodilation occurs when the outside temperature is high. So these are the conditions which are faced by the blood vessels basically. If we talk about hypothermia, if the temperature of the body becomes high than 37 degrees Celsius, the body will start sweating, the blood vessels will dilate, and heat will be produced outside to the environment. So there will be more flow of the blood in the blood capillaries, and sweat glands will start spreading sweat over the skin. And the sweating outside will carry the heat from the blood, thus producing a cooling effect in the body. That is during the process of perspiration. When the heat is released out from the body starts sweating and the temperature of the body becomes normal. Another response is physiological response to the cold. That may include the shivering, vasoconstriction, piloerection, and increased metabolic rate. So these all are the physiological responses which are faced by the body during the cold seasons or when the temperature is less. Shivering is the spasmodic contraction of the muscles, and this contraction produces heat which helps to rise the body temperature. And simultaneously the blood vessels will become constrict to stop the flow of blood easily through the skin. Piloerection is simply the erection of the skin hair. The small hair or the outgrowths which are present on the skin, they will become erected or they will stand like the goose bumps. This is also a physiological response to a cold temperature or cold environment. Now, increased metabolic rate is also a physiological response to cold, that the process of digestion or other metabolic processes will increase when the temperature outside the body is less. So here all the thermoregulatory mechanism has been shown which is corrected by the feedback mechanism, and any change in the environment will be detected by the skin and the body will come back to its normal state by the hypothalamus or the thermoregulatory centers. Thank you.